I'm Paul Comfort, and on this episode of Transit Unplugged, we go to the Community Transportation Association of America's Live 2025 Expo, recording in San Diego, California. I was just there a couple weeks ago, and we had a wonderful time at the Expo itself. Scott Bogren, the executive director of CTAA, does such a great job. There's 1,200 people there. I spoke while I was there, along with Mark Ash. We did a joint presentation over about 2 hours. And we also, I also did a book signing at the TransTrack booth. And then on the trade show floor, we recorded a couple podcasts live. It's always fun when you do that, right? You sit in front of a booth and you have a crowd gather around you and you record a CEO there. Today, we interviewed Ryan Daniel, who's CEO of the St. Cloud Metro Bus, and he had his board chairman with him. And I said, hey man, will you come over and join us on the show? So Dave Kleis, long-term board chair and long-term mayor of the city of St. Cloud, was mayor for many years, joined us on the show. We have a two-part interview with both these gentlemen, recorded right there on the trade show floor. We have another one coming up for you soon after that. And we did a live roving reporter one. You know, I'm Paul Comfort, intrepid reporter, walking the floor and talking to various people, including our friends at Mass Transit Magazine and some other leaders in the industry. So we've got 3 podcast episodes coming from the CTAA Expo 2025 in San Diego. Enjoy this great in-depth interview with Ryan Daniel, CEO of St. Cloud Metro Bus, and his board chair, Dave Kleis. We're at the CTAA Expo in San Diego, California. I'm Paul Comfort, and this is Transit Unplugged. We're doing a couple of live podcasts here from the floor of the Expo, and I'm excited to have with me today Ryan Daniel. Ryan is CEO of the St. Cloud Metro Bus System. Ryan, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
And as a last-minute addition, we added his board chair and the former mayor, 20-year mayor of St. Cloud, Minnesota, Dave Kleis. Thanks so much for being on the show and agreeing, you know, kind of not knowing I was going to drag you over here.
It's in the Expo, but no, happy to be on here.
Yeah. So the show goes all over the world. We're in 100 countries. It's the #1 mass transit podcast, and so we're excited to talk about St. Cloud. I was telling you, Ryan, I've been there before, but tell us, actually, let me ask the mayor, if you don't mind, to kick it off. Mayor, tell us some about St. Cloud and, you know, the city itself, the demographics, et cetera.
Sure. St. Cloud's city's been around for about 168 years. It is about 72,000 people, but it's a regional center, so it has a daytime population of about 180 plus thousand. So it's a college town. It has large hospitals. So it's the second largest metropolitan area in Minnesota, next to the Twin Cities.
Oh, wow.
It's by its MSA, the municipal statistical area, but it's a nice little area right in the middle of Minnesota, and it's got a growing. It continues to grow. Metrobus is a big part of it. Because St. Cloud's 72,000 people, there are 4 additional cities that are right connected. Would be considered in most areas those suburban areas, and so the Metro Bus, or our transit system, is a joint powers agreement. So it actually operates under a collaborative effort between the 3 of the cities, four cities in the area. So the mayors and council members of the cities appoint representation. St. Cloud, of course, being the biggest city, has 2 representatives on there. I've been on the board since I've been mayor, so I've been on the board 20 years, and been chair, I think, for 16 of those years. So, but it's it's a nice little community in the middle of Minnesota, and about an hour from Minneapolis. So, so we're close to the lakes. What we in Minnesota would consider up north. Anything north of St. Cloud is probably up north. But we've got 10,000. At least that's our license plates say we have 10,000 lakes. But there's probably about 15,000 lakes. But it's a nice state, and it's a wonderful little community.
That's good. That gives us a good setup, Ryan.
Yeah.
Now tell us about your transit system.
Perfect. Well, we have an award-winning transit system. We were recognized as Transit Urban System of the Year by CTAA back in 2015.
Congratulations,
so happy to toot that. We have a wonderful, excellent staff at Metrobus. So we provide commuter bus, fixed route, and paratransit services in 3 counties: Sherburne County, Stearns County, and Benton County, and we operate in 4 cities, so St. Cloud, Way Park, Sawtell, and Sauk Rapids.
Okay.
We average about just under 1 million rides per year. We have under 100 buses and over about 175 employees. Budget is about $25 million. We operate 7 days a week, 359 days a year.
How do you do that?
Just don't operate on holidays.
The 6 major holidays,
Major holidays.
Yeah, that's good, man. Wow. And how long have you been there?
I've been CEO now for 12 years.
My system in Queen Anne's County won that award in 1991. The CTAA, that tells you how old I am. We won that Community System of the Year, the county ride system. So give me a little of your background. How'd you get into all this?
Well, I started about 26 years ago. I'm going to date myself here.
It's all right.
Started out as a bus operator.
So you started at 30, right?
Yeah, 19, right? Started out as a bus operator for New York City Transit. So I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Oh.
So I'm a city boy.
My dad was from there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's born in Brooklyn, New York.
So was I, Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
Yep, chance to live in Brooklyn. So started out 1998 working for New York City Transit as a bus operator.
Okay.
While going to college. So I did my undergrad and grad school. Once I graduated, I left, decided to take the show on the road, got on the bus, went to Ohio,
Yeah,
and
man.
I took a job at Coda, landed a job at Coda.
Oh, yeah.
I was a
In
trainer
Columbus.
In Columbus, Ohio. Landed the job there as training manager. So I stayed there for about 2 years. And then the opportunity in Washington, D.C. opened up at WMATA. So I was fortunate enough to be selected to be the manager of bus operations for WMATA back in 2009. And then I stayed there until 2013. And then this position opened up in St. Cloud Metro Bus to be the CEO. And I threw my name in a hat. About 100 people applied, and I went through the process.
Wow,
competitive,
man.
and here I am
Congrats.
12 years later.
Yeah. We may have crossed paths when I worked at WMATA. I was with the MV running the paratransit system.
Oh, okay.
Remember MV was running that?
So you out of Hyattsville.
At Hyattsville,
Yep,
yeah.
out of Hyattsville. So I worked
Yeah.
out of Landover.
Oh, okay.
I was right down the street.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's funny. Wow. So, Mayor, were you involved in hiring him?
I was actually
Yeah?
chaired the committee that did the national search, and fortunately we were able to get Ryan to come up to Minnesota, leave DC at the time. So it's been great CEO, great partnership, and so it continues to grow. Won some national awards over that period of time, and international awards too. Actually, a collaborative effort on. The UN has an entity called Livable Cities in the world.
Sure, I've heard of that.
And we won the most livable city in the world twice, both in 2007, 2019.
Wow.
And a lot of that was because of collaborations, partnership, sustainability. So we went. We were the first transit system in Minnesota to go compressed natural gas, so clean energy.
Okay.
And we will be the city of St. Cloud is the first municipal wastewater treatment facility to actually produce energy. We as a city produce more energy than we use, and have now since 2014. We actually produce well over close to 300%. So we sell that back to the grid, but we will be the first city that actually will produce green hydrogen.
Oh,
so we're working
I love
with
that.
Yeah, so we're working with Metro Bus. Of course, now I'm no longer mayor. I'm the chair of Metro Bus. So back a few years ago, we set up a partnership with Metro Bus to actually utilize that hydrogen, and then New Flyer, which is also does manufacturing in St. Cloud, and of course, the second largest,
that's right. That's your big plant there.
Yep. So they've agreed to actually look at moving one of their operations, which is actually not in Minnesota, that makes hydrogen buses. They, of course, make electric buses in St. Cloud, but they're looking at actually moving some of their operation, build the hydrogen because of our ability to produce hydrogen. And then, of course, Metro Bus's ability to actually utilize those buses. So we're working with the University of Munster in Germany and the University of Minnesota on the technology. In fact, we will be producing, the city of St. Cloud will be producing hydrogen at our wastewater treatment facility next year for marketable purposes. And it's green hydrogen.
Yes.
We make it with solar and biomass, so it's 100% green. And
do you have information about that on the web anywhere?
we do on the city's website. If you go there, and we've won some national awards. Actually, the U.S. Conference of Mayors last year gave St. Cloud an award because every city in the world has to get rid of their waste.
Yeah.
And of course, so they have wastewater treatment facilities. So it's a great place to get dispose of water. And why not? If you're going to dispose of water, take the water, separate the oxygen from the hydrogen, use the hydrogen for energy, because you need the oxygen to break down the waste. So it's really simple, but it is a very high energy utilizer. But if you're using the energy and you're producing the energy green, you can do it. And that's why it will. There's no doubt it'll be. We've secured some state and federal grants because of it, and won an international award because of it. So so some great things, and it's a great collaboration with Transit.
I'm going to come back to you in a few minutes, Mayor, and ask you about, maybe you can think back, what about Ryan made you want to hire him as the CEO? Because we have a lot of people that listen to the show that are mid-level management that want to move into those CEO jobs. They're in positions like you had at WMATA, head of bus operations, and they think, they aspire to things. And so I don't think a lot of them never had a chance to hear from somebody who chairs a selection committee. So think about that for a minute while I ask Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan, prior to this, you were telling me you've got a lot of big projects going on. Walk me through some of the big projects you got happening.
Yeah, sure. So we have a Metrobus forward plan where we're looking at a total bus redesign. So as a result of COVID, a lot of things happened. The world shut down. So now COVID is over. Ridership patterns change. People's lifestyle change. Everything is 50% virtual, 50% in the office. So how do we capture that change in St. Cloud community? So we decided right on the offset of COVID, we decided to do a Metrobus forward plan where we just do everything on the mall. Hey, let's just tear this apart. How can we best meet the needs of the community moving forward? How best can we serve our community? Because we all know where transportation goes, the community grows. So we want to grow the community coming out of COVID. Let's meet the needs and let's say, hey, how can we best do this? So we did a 18-month study. We hired some consultants. We did a whole stakeholder engagement. We got the community involved because once again, it's about the community. They're the ones utilizing our services. Businesses, they hire staff, they hire people. People take transportation. So we want to capture everybody. So we had stakeholder forums, we had public hearings, we had open house, and each one of those sessions, Paul, we had about maybe 50 to 100 people in those sessions. We're so excited to see that. We even had our own bus operators coming in and telling us, hey, not this street, not this stop, that stop. And people say, hey, can you open early, can you run later? So we took all of that feedback and then worked with the consultants, and we put together a nice master plan, and it was just approved by the board here about maybe 4 months ago.
Okay.
So that's one thing that's going to be coming in the hopper here, second quarter of 2026. In addition to that, we purchased some property in a city called Way Park, one of our cities that we operate in, where on that side of town, the western side of St. Cloud, on that side, we have a lot of growth that's going on over there. So we want to capture that growth. There's an amphitheater over there, there are hotels, there are shopping malls, there's a lot of residential housing going up. So we have a transit center. We bought a parcel of land right dead smack in the middle of that residential neighborhood because we want to capture that growth. We want people just to utilize transportation, and we want to make it as accessible as we possibly can. So that, we purchased the land, we're going to do construction here. We just issued an RFP here recently, and we're going to tie the opening of that transit station together with our long-range plan changes, and we're looking at doing everything in 2026.
Awesome.
So a lot of moving parts right now, all hands on deck. Everybody's excited. It's a team effort from marketing to maintenance to operations to planning, everybody. And then with the support of our board and our board chair, former Mayor of St. Cloud Mayor Dave Kleis, we're just going to make it happen because we all have that passion for transportation and we want to grow our communities, one person at a time.
When we come back after this quick break, we're going to talk to the mayor, Dave Kleis, and ask him what did he look for in a CEO when he hired you, Ryan, right after this word. Hey friends, it's Paul Comfort, host of Transit Unplugged, and I've got some exciting news to share. Did you know that Transit Unplugged is now a hybrid podcast experience? That's right, we're not just in your ears anymore, we're on your screens too. Each week on YouTube now, you'll find a brand new version of our show featuring a video intro from me, plus behind-the-scenes photos and visuals of our guests when we record interviews on location in person. From transit centers to waterfronts and boardrooms, we're taking you there visually, adding a whole new layer to the storytelling. And the response so far has been amazing. Thousands of people are already watching and listening on YouTube, and most, get this, are watching on their TVs. So if you haven't yet, take a moment to check us out on YouTube. Just search Transit Unplugged Podcast on YouTube. Then hit subscribe and experience the show each week in a whole new way. We're making transit media more dynamic, more accessible, and more fun than ever. And I'd love to have you along for the ride. Now let's get back to the conversation. And we're back with my good friend Ryan Daniel, who is CEO of St. Cloud Metro Bus, and Dave Kleis, board chair of Metro Bus, and also the former mayor of the city of St. Cloud. Thank you again, gentlemen, for being on the show. This is very insightful stuff. And so, speaking of that, Dave, I was thinking, so I've been a CEO of a transit system, right? And I've been a county administrator hired by county commissioners. And you go through this selection process and you get interviewed by a board. And I know a lot of our listeners are upwardly mobile. They're people that want to make a difference in this world. They've chosen transportation as their field, like you and I have, Ryan, to make that happen. And they want to become CEOs or directors, whatever the title is. Dave, what is a group, like you were the mayor and you were chair of the selection committee, what does a group look for, or what did you look for? Let's just say that, when you looked for a CEO of your system, when you hired Brian.
Well, first you look for, the obvious pieces, the experience, supervision. Obviously, you're going to be supervising and hiring employees, so you understand that. That's at a basic, but I always look for drive and compassion, and it's interesting because the committee that I chaired, we had a number of folks. We did a national search, and a lot of folks came forward, and I remember the discussion around Ryan, and I was a big advocate of hiring him because he came from a system. Now, he came, originally in New York and then from D.C., and this is St. Cloud, Minnesota, much smaller system. Yeah. So I had some, trepidation from some of the board members saying, well, he's only going to be with us for a little while, and he's going to probably be upward and mobile. And I said, yeah, that's exactly who I would hire. Somebody who is upward and mobile, because they're not only looking at helping the system that they're going to be hired to do, but they're also looking at and if I can hire somebody, and I've done a lot of hiring at the city, and I own a driver's education business, so I've owned that for 34 years, so I've hired a lot of people. And by
the way, you've got a great voice for radio.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice, deep, resonant voice.
Thank you. I've done some radio too. Yeah. But it is something that I look for is somebody that really looks at their own, their career and their future, and that's great. I always say if you could hire somebody, I remember talking to one of the committee members who said, yeah, he'll only be here, for 5 years. I go, that'd be a great 5 years, because that's exactly what you want. You want someone to come in, get a little external perspective. Now, and oftentimes you hire within, and that's fine too. We had some internal candidates. We had some folks that were outside, but Ryan knew his stuff, and and after hiring and knowing Ryan, I've known Ryan for the whole time that he's been here.
12 years now.
12 years, and not only the CEO, but we're good friends. But he has a passion. The guy lives a transit, and that was pretty evident too, because he had that experience. He came from. He drove bus in New York. I mean, right. I would want to drive a car, and I barely want to be in transit in New York with the way traffic and everything is. But he came from that system, and then in D.C., and then coming into a system much smaller, but giving him an opportunity to actually to be the CEO is a whole different thing. So I look at that type of upward mobility, in hiring, and it was not in any way. And no regrets. In fact, the board, after we made that selection, and Brian's done a great job during that 12 years. So he's, he certainly has and that's most people that apply for a job, have the skill involved, but the passion for what they do. And, quite frankly, you should be looking at, I look at upward mobility, because then somebody wants to excel in what they do, not only in the company that they're running, in the system they're running, but in their own personal drive. You want somebody that's got that kind of drive. Yeah. You don't want somebody that's going to settle and wants to retire, and then or wants to just this is a job that makes it easier than I was doing before. No, you want somebody who is going to not only challenge the system, but challenge themselves in upward mobility.
That's great. What a great answer. And Ryan, how's your experience been? I mean, everything's been good, you think?
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's great, man. Yeah. That's really good.
Very fortunate to have Dave as a boss and as a friend and as a mentor.
Yeah.
It has been really uplifting for me for these last 12 years.
What do you consider, kind of as a CEO, what do you think the key attributes are? So we'll just keep this kind of conversation going. So this is what your boss, Dave, as the mayor and the former board chair, was looking for. Mm-hmm. What do you think is key for a CEO or someone who wants to move into leadership? What kind of things should they be working on themselves?
Mentorship, number one. You have to find someone who can mentor you. You got to have a mentor in your corner. That's very important. Number two is technical skills. Utilize trainings like APTA, CTAA, APTA Leadership, CTAA Leadership, Emerging Leaders Academy, ENO Foundation, the Mid-Managers Training Program. Utilize those platforms. Utilize those training platforms, because not only for the educational component, but for the networking component. Because everybody in that same programs had the drive, the passion to want to be CEO. So what better place to be in when similar like-minded people like yourself are aspiring to do the same thing. So I would say definitely take advantage of those programs, because those programs are very beneficial. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here, right? At CTAA, you were the System of the Year. What do you get from CTAA? What do you enjoy about it? Well, not only that I'm on the board, I get to help drive direction, help guide the strategic process, help guide the direction of the association, but also provide valuable input. Because once again, it's not about just me succeeding, it's about the future generation succeeding as well. So what does that succession plan look like? How can we train the next generation of leaders? How can we ensure that the content that we're putting out is going to be valuable and worthwhile for the attendees, so that way they could grow into these roles and be successful in their roles.
Yeah.
So being able to provide that strategic direction and that input is valuable, and I love that. And not only that, from a executive step, from an executive position, just looking at having CTAA be that platform, be that voice for us on the Hill, lobbying, that kind of stuff.
Scott Bogren, the executive director, is phenomenal.
Doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
He's been at CTAA now for well over 30 years.
That's right.
And his passion for transportation, his passion for the industry is unmatched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He and I kind of started around the same time. I started in '87 in Queen Anne's County, Maryland, as the county ride system, like I mentioned, and Scott was editor of their magazine. And Dave Raphael was the head of the association back then. And Scott and I both, he stayed in one place. I went around and worked for a bunch, but we've been buddies ever since. And he's another transit evangelist, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to ask you about technology.
Okay.
So, everybody's, we're here in June of 2025, and the hot thing right now is AI, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about AI, but there's lots of other technologies too. What are you working with right now, and what technologies are you working with that are helping you or your agency serve people better?
Yeah, so right now we're working with TripSpark. We're looking at, for right now, so Metrobus, high level, fixed route bus, we have the mobile app, we have the ticketing, the mobile ticketing, and things of that nature. But then now we look at paratransit, we want to make paratransit easier for people to utilize our services. So right now we're working with TripSpark. We're looking at creating a mobile app, so that way you can book your rides straight from the comfort of your phone.
Oh, I love that.
And that's the one big thing right now that we're working on.
That's great.
We upgraded all of our fare boxes, we upgraded all of that digital technology, but right now we want to focus on the paratransit customer experience piece, because we always want to look for ways where we can enhance the customer experience, enhance that customer service. So this mobile app will be a game changer just for our community.
Yeah, where are you at in the process?
Oh, we're looking to launch here quarter 4 of 2025 or quarter 1 of 2026.
Anything else you want to talk about on the show today?
I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to share knowledge. I'm happy to be joined by former St. Cloud Mayor Dave Kleis and board chair. And as we look to grow the industry, we're all passionate. The one thing I would say is, let's remember, where transportation goes, the community grows. And that community might look different around the United States, but we all have that same drive and passion. Let's keep pushing, and make sure that transportation is accessible for all.
That's wonderful. And Mayor, let me give you the final word. Talk to us about the role of public transportation in a city like St. Cloud. What does it do for a city? It kind of ticks me off that not 5 or 10% of the people in America ride transit. A lot of people don't ride, but it provides great value, right?
Oh, it does. People have to get places, and there's one of the things I think that's often lost is the issue of economic development. You have to have people to get to work, and first, from a city's perspective, you try to create as much mobility as you can, make the city walkable and transit oriented, and that's what we have. We're in Minnesota, so one of the things I've done a lot of travel. One of the things in Minnesota, you can drive an hour and a half to lunch, because people will go from St. Cloud to Minneapolis, and people like to spread out areas. So how do you get around? How do you get people around there? Is you do that through transit. If you can make it easy, you can make it simple. And our goal, is not only in the technology thing, but can you make it clean? And there's been a lot of advances over the years, because we're also a very cold winter state. I mean, I think back, years ago when I was first on the board, all the idling that those big diesel buses did, and how terrible it was, not only for the drivers and for the customers and for those places at every intersection. Now you got we've cleaned that up with CNG, and of course.
Are you like all CNG?
Yeah, we are 100% CNG.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
The goal will be 100% hydrogen at some point.
Oh, I love that. I'm a big hydrogen fan.
So not only will it be clean, it'll be clean and renewable. So that'll be something that looking forward to doing. And so if you look at that over that period of time, it's really changed. But there's not an employer in any community that isn't looking for employees. It's one of the things that's happening right now in the U.S. You have underemployment in a lot of areas. So what do? You got to make it as convenient as you can for the employee. And so folks want to, and if you look at the largest percentage of the workforce in the United States are millennials, and millennials, more and more millennials are not buying cars. I know somebody on the other side, since I'm in the driver's education world. I'm always amazed that the younger and younger people are older and older before they actually get their license.
It's true, isn't it? Yeah.
And so people are transit oriented. They want to live in places where they can walk, or they can get on a bus, they can get on a train. And so that's an important piece. And Minnesota's also in some of those rural areas are aging. So how do you get people there? The dial-a-ride or the paratransit is a huge part of it. You just got to get people not only to work, but you got to get them to their medical appointments, to the shopping, and to the church. So it's moving around people and doing it in a way that's convenient and really also good for the community. And so the green aspect of it, the technology part of it, and just moving people.
That's wonderful. Ryan, thank you so much for being our guest today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I was going to ask you one more question. I feel like I want to ask you this. What is your vision? If you want to project out where you want this transit system to be in 10 years, you've been there 12. I'm sure you want to stay there for a while. Yeah. What is your vision? What are you shooting for?
I'm shooting for a place, a system where everybody will leave their cars at home and utilize public transportation. If I could get every single person who has like 3-car households, 4-car households to leave their car at home and get on the bus, job well done.
Yeah.
That's my vision. I want people to utilize our transportation services.
Well, I can see why Mayor Dave hired you. You have the ability. Obviously, you're very articulate, but you also have the passion for it. Yeah, and you're a believer in it. I can tell.
Thank you.
So that's wonderful, man. I appreciate you both being on the show today. Coming off the trade show floor to come over here and chat for a few minutes. I think we've learned a lot. And I wish you all the very best in your new facility and going hydrogen, man. Clean hydrogen, green. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll catch back up with you in a year or two and see how it's going.
Sounds good. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Transit Unplugged podcast. We're so glad you're here. My name is Julie Gates. I'm the executive producer of the show, and our goal is to create programs that promote the great things going on in the transit industry by providing you with behind-the-scenes access with industry executive leadership so we can work together to find innovative industry solutions. We would love to have you be a part of the Transit Unplugged community by having you sign up for our newsletter. Head to the show notes to find the link. Thanks for listening to Transit Unplugged with Paul Comfort, our favorite transit evangelist, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for tuning in.